Hello everybody and welcome to another video. In this video we're going to be painting up a Bretonnian Bowman for the old world, and we're going to be doing it in 3 simple stages to get your army done. Bretonnian Bowman for the old world, and we're going to be approaching it with the viewpoint of trying to keep the colours quite drab and desaturated, and having the more vibrant saturated colours for the knights and things like that, which I will be doing a video later on in the month, maybe next month, very soon at least. There'll be a number of videos on the knights with the different heraldry and stuff. It's going to be cool. So in this video it's going to be focusing on the Bowman and the colours, and sort of like what colours to do and what colours not to do. So we're going to flip over the camera and we'll jump right in. So as you can see, I have primed this model black. It's completely fully built. The beauty of these miniatures is they're literally one piece. Very simple to do. So like I said in the intro, you want the colours to be quite drab, and that's why we're going to go for Death World Forest first. And this is going to be for all of the outer garments. So what I've tried to do, I've taken a lot of inspiration from things like historical painting miniatures. So a good site for that would be Footsore Miniatures. They do like a medieval game, so looking at how they've painted their sort of medieval miniatures is a really good sort of way of sort of getting an idea of how to paint these. So you want colours like dark drab greens, darkish blues, reds. You want to stay away from vibrant colours like bright reds, oranges, burgundies, purples, because they're the colours that you would associate with nobility rather than peasantry. So make sure that all of this area is covered. I took about 2 coats to get a fully opaque layer, and then we moved on to the next colour, which is Steel Legion Drab. Perfect colour for a peasant. So what I'm going to be using for this is doing on this guy, using all of his bodice, his armour area. Now you can make this uniformed. You could completely make this like a really dark brown, like a dryad bark or a rhinox hide or something along those lines. And you could easily do this with contrast paints as well. So you could prime it white and then use contrast paints just to speed this up. But one of the things that you'll notice in this video is I've broken this down to a number of stages. So once each stage finishes, I'll tell you basically like this is where you would want to be for getting to that level and that rank. So following the guide all the way to the end would be for miniatures that would go on the front rank. Stopping at the end, missing out a couple of the highlight stages would basically get your units looking pretty decent and look pretty good, but perfect for the 2nd, 3rd, maybe 4th rank. My bowmen are probably going to be an extended line, so I'm probably going to do all my bowmen to the full length of this tutorial, because I might have them in a full single line and they're all going to look really good. So next up is Rhinox hide, and what I'm going to be doing this is it's like the leather straps on his chest as well as his shoes, because he's got his little Nike Air Fastness leather little ramekin things. Now I did paint up his legs rust grey, and I didn't show that in the video because it was literally just painted rust grey and then washed, and then I left it at that. But you can do whatever colour you want for the underskirt and the underclothes. Once that is done, we're going to be using Zandy Dust, and we're going to be basing any of his underclothes, things like underneath his main sort of, I don't really know what this would be called, his jacket. So like his jumper and his sort of undergarment that he's clearly got on. But again, you can mix this up, you can break this down into different colours. You can make this like a blue if you want, like a grey blue. The best thing to do is generally just make sure that these colours are quite desaturated, and if you want to highlight them and you don't really have a good highlight to go with, just add grey into it, or like an off-white. You don't want to use things like ice yellow or things like that, or because you don't want the highlights to be too bright. You want to keep them quite muted to sort of give that theme of a peasant. So his cowl around his head, I've gone for corn red, and again just base coating all of this in at the moment. So once all the base coats are done and it's been washed, that's pretty much the good stage to get the full unit done too. You can obviously at that point then start tidying things up and go for the next stage, and then start doing the first stage of highlights and the second stage of highlights. It really depends on how far you want to get into. When I do the men-at-arms video, I'll explain, you know, because these guys are going to be ranked up in proper ranks, probably where to best stop and where not to stop. But yeah, just work your way around the model, making sure that the cowl is completely done. Now, at the moment, the skin hasn't been base coated. You'll see in the video later on that the face and the hands will just get base coated white. That's just sort of just to preempt and get ready to put the Kislev flesh over that. So one of my favorite colors, Thunder Brown, and this is for like the bow, and as you can see the face and everything else has already been done white. But yeah, the Thunder Brown is for things like the weapons and the wood and the bows and things like that. I absolutely love this color. It's absolutely amazing. And when you mix in a little bit of Karnak stone, you can really get a nice wood effect on it. Really is one of my new favorite paints from the Citadel range. But yeah, just go around and picking out all of the weapons and the bow and everything else. And at this stage, you're pretty much nearly finished. And this guy, in all, taken about 2 hours to paint, 2.5 hours, and that was including with filming. And I even stopped for a bit of lunch while I was doing it as well. So they don't take too long. Like I say in another video that's coming after this, there is some definitely charm to this. So to tie everything together and to get this down, you want to get a nice wash of Agrax Earthshade. It's a classic, you know, just slap it all on, just making sure it doesn't pool in the sort of deeper recesses and the bottom, but just go around and everything that you've already painted and base coated, give it a nice wash of Agrax Earthshade. Now, if you've got green, like the green robes, and you don't want to use Agrax, you could use like a greeny brown wash. I know that Games Workshop used to do like a greeny brown wash. I'm not too sure if they still do it. It might have stopped, but if you haven't, get maybe like a green wash and an Agrax and like do a 50-50 mix, and then use that over the green, and you might sort of get the same sort of result, but give it that a bit more of a greeny tint. So don't worry too much if you go over the whiteness for the hands. You can tidy that up. So obviously for all the hands and the face, Kislev flesh. Now, I'm not really going to go nuts on faces on these guys at all, or any of my old world stuff apart from characters. It's basically a simple case of giving it a wash, giving it a base coat of Kislev flesh. It took about 2 layers to get fully opaque, and then giving it a wash, and then that's it. I'm not going back into highlighting it. Even at the end of this video, I don't go back to highlight it. There's no real point. There's a lot of stuff over the face, so as long as you've got the flesh color in place, then you're good to go. For the metals, for what limited amount of metals that these models do have, one of my favorites, steel, Iron Hand steel, just do all of the metallics. And then, as you can see, I've done the little rust grey around the bottom of his legs. At this stage, this guy's pretty much done, and he's ready to be based, and you could put him on the bit tabletop right now. But if you want to bring the miniature to that next level, just to bring them up and make them look a little bit better than tabletop ready, then from this point on, this is where you need to go. Obviously, we're going to be washing the hands before you get to that stage using Reikland Flesh Shade. Again, nice liberal wash, don't let it pool, and once the metallics are washed, this guy is good to go. Now, the little shield on his chest, as you've noticed, there's a little white shield there. I haven't really gone into detail on that. That'll be in the Men-at-Arms video. But basically, I'm using that shield as like a mark, and using the heraldry or colours of my Duke. For my army, that is a yellow and black half and half scheme. Now, for your army, it could be whatever colour you've done for your Duke, but that's basically how I'm tying the peasantry into the army and into the Duke, by using these little sort of shields. Rattling Grime, perfect for washing metallics, and I just give the rust grey area a little bit of a wash, and then I give the helmet a wash. And then pretty much, if you want to stop, like I said, if you want to stop at this stage and get him on the table, he is now done, ready to play. Absolutely brilliant. So if you want to then sort of bring it up to the next level, you can then start rebuilding up these sort of brighter points using the previous base coats back over, leaving the shaded areas in the deepest recesses. classic Games Workshop painting tutorials, Duncan Rhodes style painting. I don't often do this, but it actually works really well for these type of miniatures because the amount of detail that's on them, it kind of helps with that. Normally I wouldn't give a full wash over an entire area. I would sort of just focus the wash where it needs to go, but for these guys it works really well. So just making sure that when you are painting over this layer, you are leaving that sort of wash in the deeper recesses. Making sure you pick out the tops of the folds and the edges and everything else, and then once that's done, you can do this as many times as you want. Obviously the more times you do it, the more opaque this layer becomes and the more brighter it gets, and you'll see it a lot more. If you thin it down quite nicely, you can do a number of layers and it'll sort of blend in quite nicely. So once you've done that, then we're going to go into the next color, and again it's another base coat that we've already used, and this is corn red, and it's just going over all of the red areas, doing exactly what we've just done with the green, leaving the shaded areas in the deepest recesses and keeping this onto where our highlights are going to go. If you're wanting to sort of take your miniatures a little bit better than battle ready, or as Games Workshop would put it, battle ready, then this is like the perfect stage to do. You can again do the whole miniature up until this sort of layer and then leave it. But if you want them to look a little bit better, you can start doing some proper edge highlighting, as we've got Elysian green here for the edge highlighting on the green, and it's exactly how you would imagine it. We're picking out all of the sharpest points, all of the edges, and all of the raised points on the miniature. As you can see, I'm just coming around the back here on the edges and picking out the folds and the little rips and everything else. So it doesn't matter what color this is, the technique and the process is still the same. So for all of the leather working, the leathers, the strap, the belts on his chest, his little shoes, picking out with Mournfang brown, and that's just picking it out. And as you can see, I've already got the yellow and black on that little shield. So like I said, I'm not really going to go too much into that because I'm going to do that in another video. For the red is Wazadaka red, and it's just picking out the highest points and all of the top of the folds and everything else on the cowl, and that's, you know, pretty good. Now this is probably the level of highlights I would do for miniatures that are going to be on the second rank onwards. So if you are ranking up your Bowman, then once you've done all of these highlights on these areas, you can pretty much base coat it and stop, and then that would be pretty much it. That would be perfect to nice gaming, nice decent tabletop standard. Would look really good. Everything is pretty much been highlighted and it's not gone OTT. The final set of highlights that we're going to be doing, I would exclusively only have them for the front rank. So that's the 4 or 5 miniatures that you're going to have on the front rank of your unit, because they're going to be seen the most. The rest of them are not going to be seen. So for his underskirt and everything else, you're going to be picking out now with some Ushabti bone. Again, you've already gone back over with some Zandri dust over this area. Now you're just picking out the highlights with Ushabti bone. And for his sort of armor piecing, using Baneblade brown. And this is also used on the weapon as well. This is the first highlight you would do on the weapon. So just carefully give a nice edge highlight along the edges of the bow. Now the bow can sometimes have sharp edges, so you could use the side of your brush. If not, you're gonna have to kind of very carefully sort of, for almost like freehand it, but just take your time. If you make a mistake, you can tidy it up. Now we're moving into the final highlights now, and this is where we would sort of stop, and this is for the front rank. So for the green, we're using Ongrid camo, and basically we're just using this on the sharpest points and the most sort of upper points and folds and things on the cloth to really sort of make them stand out. And this is, like I said, what I would exclusively reserve for miniatures that are only going to be on the front rank. Or if you're going to do all of them, then that would be if you're going to plan on stringing the unit out. For the red, we're going to be using Squig Orange. I'm really kind of glad that I made the mistake of buying Squig Orange. I actually went to my local store to buy Troll Slayer Orange and come back with Squig Orange, but it actually worked out really well for this tutorial. So as you can see, I'm just picking out the most raised areas, and I pick out the most raised areas on the cowl with Squig Orange as well. Now for XV88 is going to be used for all of the sort of leathery parts, so the leather straps on his chest, his shoes, and the sort of leathery sort of part around his wrist where he fires his arrow, as well as on the little strappings that he has on the bow. And then for the armor and everything else, a little bit of Karnak stone is just used to pick out these areas on the leather, just to sort of really make that stand out a little bit more. And then the sort of armor around his chest as well. I also used Karnak stone just to pick out some more brighter highlights on the bow, and the little straps, just to really sort of pick those out. But pretty much at this stage, all you need to do now is just finishing this off and then get the base done, which is I'm using Vallejo muddy ground, dry brush it with some lighter browns, and then add some stack grass to it, and then it's completely done. Very simple, because I've obviously got a lot to do. And then here he is finished. So I hope you liked this video. I hope it's helpful for how you can paint in various stages to sort of get your units done for the old world, and you can stop at any point. So if you do like this content, please subscribe to my channel. I'm getting very close to hitting 2,700 subscribers, and it would be great to do so. Ring that bell, like, share it with your friends, and obviously if you want to follow me and help me in other ways, you can check out my members area and my Patreon. And I will see you in all the other videos. Goodbye for now. Bye.